Hello and welcome to Battle Streams in Middle Earth, and welcome to the latest in my new series of hobby vlogs. If you're new to the channel and you've stumbled across this, please hit that subscribe button. It's great to have you here and we hope you enjoy this. I don't know which hobby vlog this is. At the time of recording, I'm kind of working on 3 videos at the moment, and I don't know how I've decided to start numbering them. So this could be anywhere, frankly, between 1 and 4. But that's irrelevant. That's not important at this stage. But what's important is we're going to get stuck into some good stuff going forward. So, as ever, here on Battle Streams in Middle Earth, the point of our channel is to help you clear your backlog. So stick this on. It's not going to be particularly visually exciting, at least for a while, and I'm just going to kind of ramble on and sort of set out my next upcoming projects for you, well, hopefully while you get some painting done. There's going to be some solid backlog clearing from me. In this video I'm going to be digging out some old classic models that have been waiting for ages, but hopefully this will help you, give you some good accompaniment to paint along to. So hopefully by now you will have seen my looking forward video, my hobby projects for the new year video, and I will have laid out the fact that I was hoping to get back to regular hobby vlogs. And when I was looking at the idea of what I was going to do in January and February, it turned out it's all gathering towards one or two things really, but two kind of deadlines. Everything is themed in the same area. So I thought what I would do is make a kind of road to that deadline, and that deadline is the photo shoot for SBG Issue 12. I'm just realising I don't have a copy of SBG Issue 11 here, which is a disaster. Shoddy marketing. But yeah, we're running towards our photo shoot for the new issue. And then a week after that is the Warhammer World GT. So I've got a load of stuff to do for those 2 things, and this hobby vlog is going to encompass that. As of right now, I don't know if it'll be 1 or 2. I suspect it's going to be quite long, like the end one was. The reason I've decided to do this is, hopefully you remember, you've seen my Road to Throne of Skulls vlog that I did, which was the kind of 3-week period leading up to Throne of Skulls, building all of this kind of stuff, which was a load of fun. It went down really well, so that's kind of inspired me to do another one as this kind of like target. So we're going to follow the progress through to the next one, and so this is the road to the SBG Issue 12 photo shoot and the Warhammer World GT. That's what we're going to be doing. Right now I don't know if it's 1 or 2 videos. I suspect it's going to be quite long, so it might be 2 videos. I might be able to get it into 1, but if it starts getting really unwieldy, I'll probably stop it and release 1, I don't know, mid-February and 1 mid-March or something like that. But yeah, there we go. That's what's coming. You're going to come with me on this journey and follow me about all what we're going to be doing towards those 2 things. So I hope you've got your tea. I hope you're painting. Let's get stuck in. As we've said, the first of these things I'm building towards is the photo shoot for issue 12. Now, I was really hoping to have issue 11 here. I could go downstairs, but frankly, I just can't be asked. If any of you've got issue 11 of SBG, you'll know that we did the road to Rivendell. So we did a kind of campaign, a 5-game Zoom campaign, and we took the Fellowship from, well, not even the Fellowship, we took the Hobbits from the Shire all the way to Rivendell. It was really good fun, and as we were doing this, we were like, we've got to continue the story. So the next issue is, this isn't a huge spoiler because we kind of talked about it in issue 11, but we're going to be taking the whole Fellowship this time from Rivendell all the way to Amon Hen. So we're going to do the end of Fellowship. So issue 12 is going to be a kind of celebration of 20 years of Fellowship of the Rings. It's going to be themed around the Fellowship and have lots of good Fellowship content. So we're all excited. So that's what we're building towards. As I said, it's January the 18th or 19th, and that photo shoot is currently scheduled for, this is really weird, where I wish I had some technology with me. I think February like the 19th, 20th. It's the week before the GT, the weekend before the GT. As far as I know, that's 5 weeks away. So what I started to do was think about all the things I had to get done for the GT, and they're obviously, sorry, not the GT, the photo shoot, and they're obviously Fellowship related. So we're going to show you those, but then I was thinking, well, what am I doing for the GT? So a week later, we got the Warhammer World GT, and I didn't really feel particularly strongly about what I was going to do. For the last, however many years I've gone, I think about the last 4 GTs have been, possibly every one since it came back, I've always taken thematically opposed opposition. I've always tried to make, I think I've done like a low-key display board for most of them, but I've always wanted them to oppose each other. So I did the Gundabad outside Erebor and the Champions of Erebor. I did Gundabad's v Thranduil's Halls, a kind of Battle of Five Armies theme. I did Army of the Dead v Moran and Orcs, those kind of things. So I've always thought that with the GT, that I like the two armies to be opposed. And this year I just didn't really, I wasn't really feeling anything. I didn't have anything that was really kind of go, oh, I must use that, I must use that. Because it's 700 points, I was tempted to bring my Ents. I've had a lot of fun with the Ents the last half of last year. And 700 points does work for them. It's what I took to Scaran of Cheshire. It's I think it's Treebeard, Quick Beam and 3 Ents, is that right, I think? But I didn't then have thematically opposed opposition. I could have dug out some Isengard, but it wasn't really going for it. And then I started thinking about everything I was going to be doing for the next 5 weeks. And 700 points, I was thinking, hang on, isn't the Fellowship around 700 points? Now, immediately people should start throwing rocks at the TV and go, how can you take the Fellowship to the GT? And I'm going to the GT to see my friends and have some fun games. I couldn't care less about winning, so it doesn't really bother me if they're awful. I don't think I've ever taken the Fellowship of the Ring to a tournament in all the years I've been doing it. So that was quite appealing. And for the last few SBG issues, I've basically painted the whole of the original Metal Fellowship. So I've got quite a nice set of the Fellowship of the Ring ready to go. So that was really appealing. And I worked out at 700 points, you can basically get the Fellowship without Sam, Merry and Pippin. So it's a shame you lose 3 of the Hobbits, but you get Frodo and then you get all the big hitters. So, you know, it'll be crap, don't get me wrong, it's not a good army, but it's not handicapping yourself necessarily. You know, what you lose, whilst you don't get the full Fellowship, which you need 750, 800 for, you lose the kind of weaker members. So it'll be sad to not have them, but I was feeling quite good about that. But I was then like, but what would oppose them? And then, as we'll talk about what I've got to paint, I thought there might be a chance to do a Moria army. And I've never ever done Moria. I've painted up my Moria stuff in narrative scenarios, and I took a Moria force to my first ever Warhammer World event, SBG event, which was the doubles tournament where I met Tom Harrison. You had to have 2 separate armies, and I built the armies from my narrative collections. So it was like a 400 point army of Moria based on the Fellowship Journey books, and a 400 point army of Uruk Scouts based on the Journey books. And I believe those are the only times I've ever taken Moria to the GT. And so, sorry, to a tournament at all, and it's just never appealed to me. And suddenly, as you'll see, the stuff I was going to paint up is kind of Moria-centric, and I suddenly thought, oh, well, maybe there's a way of building a Moria army, and I think it works. So what that also does, when I settled on that, I started feeling quite good about these things, and there being a nice thematic pairing, and it gives me extra motivation to get the models painted for the photo shoot, because I also need them for the GT. So that's the big plan, basically. Paint a load of that stuff, ready for the GT. But also, not only that, we've got to get some scenery done. There's quite a lot of scenery projects that I need for the photo shoot, and I've figured out a way to incorporate one of those into the GT list as well. So that's the plan. That's what we're doing. That's what we're moving towards. And so I'm going to get stuck in and show you what we're trying to achieve. And we've got 5 weeks till the photo shoot, and then 1 week to the GT after that. And I know what I'm doing in that 1 week. There's like one thing I need for the GT that I don't need for the photo shoot. So we've essentially got 5 weeks to do most of it. But let's get stuck in. So some juicy kind of SBG issue 12 spoilers and hints coming up, certainly. The first thing I need to get stuck into is some cave trolls. You say they have a cave troll? No, sir. They have 3 cave trolls. I've had this bad boy. This is the cave troll with the hand and a half hammer. He's been sitting in my box of doom for years. I think since the Angmar stuff started disappearing about 6 years ago, 7 years ago. I picked him up then, and he's been waiting. So that's the 2-handed one like that. I've got him ready to go. I've also got the cave troll with chain and spear, which is the one doing that with the spear. I've got the one with the chain and hammer painted. He's my original cave troll. Probably can't see him very well there, but he was the guy I did 10 years ago now when I first got back into the game. I'm still pretty pleased with him, to be honest, but I've had him sitting around for ages, so he's getting some friends. So I was going to do those 2, and then because I got the Balin's Tomb game box set for Christmas, I've got the plastic one. I don't really rate this one. It's cool for a plastic model. I'm sure in 2005-6 it was a fun addition, but it's not. I don't think it's a particularly great pose and not a great sculpt. But I figured I've got it. I'm going to be painting cave trolls. I might as well paint them all together. So 3 cave trolls are going under the brush. and they're probably going to be the first thing I'm working on, certainly model wise. And the reason for that is I've told you we're taking the fellowship from Rivendell to Amon Hen. They have a cave troll, and I think there are 2 pictures. There's going to be 2 photographs inside the magazine set in Balin's tomb, and I'm going to need one of those metal trolls for each of them. So this guy, he probably won't be in the magazine, but we're going to paint him up anyway. But yeah, so I'm painting up those 2 trolls specifically for 1 photo each. That's kind of the silly sort of stuff we get up to when we're working on this magazine. We paint specific sculpts for specific pictures. So I'm going to try and get those done. I've also got this bag of goodness. Look at that base, the base is a giveaway. This is the Watcher in the Water. If any of you have followed my endeavours since the beginning, you may remember an unbagging of this on the GBHL podcast YouTube channel 7 years ago. I think it was in 2014. You can go and find it. Maybe I might be able to put the link in the description if I remember. But me and James Clark sat in my flat. It was on this very sofa, damn it, but in a completely different building, in my old flat, and we unbagged this Watcher in the Water because we hadn't done it on the channel, and we had a good look at it. I like this. I've always been a fan of this. I quite like what they did with it and made it a model that could go on land. And he has been sitting, again, if you've been following my hobby vlogs and on the GBHL podcast, he's been sitting in the I want to do this year box for about 5 years. I had a box of projects fun things I wanted to do, and he's been in there for ages. And my hope is that he will finally get his moment now. We need him for 1 picture in SBG. So I'm going to go through, it's probably going to be about 2 weeks work, I reckon, assembling, cleaning up, painting this for 1 photo. But yeah, he'll be getting done. And I'm super excited about this, and I really hope it gets done and gets saved from the bag he's been in since I got him. So those are the models I've got to paint. I've also got to do, I don't have to do, but I'm going to try and paint up Celeborn, the unarmoured Celeborn, for a picture. We could really do with that, but it's not essential. And I've also got Merry and Pippin, who are the plastic ones from Treebeard, the new ones. So you can see that they are primed, their bases have even been painted, they're ready to go. They're not essential. There's a chance that they would make it into 1 photograph, but they're just handy to have for a kind of Amon Hen themed picture. But equally, I reckon if they're in an Amon Hen themed picture, they might be being carried by orcs, but we just don't know. But it'd be good to have the options. But what's kind of important about all of these models that I just mentioned, the Cave Trolls, the Watcher, Merry and Pippin, Celeborn, if they don't get painted by the Photoshoot, if not the GT, they'll then not get painted for years. You know, they're only being painted for these projects. They have a strict deadline. If any of these don't make it, they'll be chucked back into boxes and dragged out in years. I fear this for Merry and Pippin. I think Merry and Pippin are going to be a step too far, to be honest. But yeah, so Merry and Pippin might be consigned to the box until they come up next time in battle streams or something. But that's what I'm going to try and get done painting model wise. So as I said, as I was thinking about this stuff for the photo shoot, I realised, hang on, the Watcher, 200 points or 250 points. A Cave Troll, 75 points. That's a chunky bit towards a Moria army. And I went and had I kind of dusted off my Moria box and had a look in it. And I've got tons of goblins. And tons of those goblins have been painted on battle streams. And they've never been used in a game. And I was like, oh, this is good. And what I've come up with is quite a thematic 700 point Moria list. That represents the kind of stuff that they fight through, hopefully without being too horrible to play. So I've had to use the heroes that I had. And some of them are on this tray actually, because I still left them out. There he is, and there we are. So I've got my two leaders, which are Groblog and Durbers. These were painted up just to represent Goblin captains 10 years ago, when they first came out, 9-10 years ago or something, in the scenarios. So I'll be using these ancient models. I've also got 2 Moria Goblin Shamans, and they're my 4 heroes that I've got painted, and that just about gives me enough warband slots to swarm out with goblins. I've got a goblin drum painted, and then I've got about 50 goblins. And I worked out that I believe it's Durbers, Groblog, 2 Shamans, the drum, the Watcher in the Water, a Cave Troll, and 27 goblins, I think, is bang on 700 points. And that seems cool. So I'm not taking the Balrog, I'm not taking Prowlers, I'm not taking a Dweller or anything like that. I'm taking stuff that is within that scene. So it's going to be Balin's Tomb, granted with some kind of slightly fancy heroes rather than just captains, because I just don't have the captain models, and then the Watcher in the Water, which would be super cool to get him on the table. Can't clarify enough, not taking a Bat Swarm. So there'll be no filth from Damian dragging heroes into the Watcher and then sticking a Bat Swarm on them. But yeah, that's my plan. So suddenly it all clicked, and I was like, oh, this is brilliant. So all the stuff I'm putting up for the photo shoot can then go off to the GT a week later, and it all fits, and it's all lovely, and it's, you're doing it for 2 reasons. So that is me clicked in and committed. If for some reason I don't get the Watcher in the Water done, I guess I'm going to be having an even bigger goblin swarm with more cave trolls, but fingers crossed I won't, because I really want to play with the Watcher. So there we go, those are the models I've got to get done in the next 5 weeks. That's quite easy. If I just had 5 weeks to do them, it'd be simple. But it's never simple, is it? It's never simple. You want to see me sitting in a shed at 1 AM shaking, crying, bleeding, and not thinking I'll get it done. Yeah, so it wouldn't be fun if I just had to paint a few models. Instead, what I've also got to do is 4 scenery projects. So I'm going to sort of start these with some escalation. Sort of see how we get on. So I want to start with this stuff. So I've shown this off on battle streams before. But this is my Dwaradelf terrain that I got from Zahir Karez, which I will try again and remember to put his details below. So Zahir kind of works out of the trade pages, the SBG trade pages, and he makes awesome terrain for really cheap. So I've got this whole Dwaradelf set, which is enough to kind of build the Dwaradelf scenario from Quest of Ringbearer, should anyone need that coming up in the not too distant future. And I think it was about 60 quid. So I've got a whole box of it here, I think it charges like 60 quid. Can you see that? There we go. Hopefully that's showing it off. Tons and tons of stuff in here for £60, which is great, really good value. So I'd highly recommend that. Go and check him out. And whilst this is brilliant and I love it, putting your Metal Fellowship on this, putting it on the table, nudging things around, letting Tom Harrison near it, very, very bad. So what I decided to do was, despite the fact it's very modular, I started to think, hang on, do you ever need it to be modular? Is there any benefit to it being modular when you're always going to lay it out in the same fashion? And the only benefit really is storage. So what I've actually done, I've bought another set. So I've bought a whole other set, I've doubled up, and that set's going to be used for kind of background dressing. I'm going to leave that modular. This, what I'm going to do is I'm going to glue these bits down to 3 baseboards, which are 12 by 14 inches. I've had them cut, and I figured out that if you get these boards, what you basically do is you can arrange it on top, glue everything down so it's completely solid, and it has a big base so it can't be knocked down over, and then slot them together and you get your Dwaradelf. And so that's what I'm going to be, that's one of the projects, that's like the easiest project I'd say. I'm going to, I've got the bases, I'm going to drill into them, put some spikes up, cocktail sticks or something, and then glue these on top. And so they're held in place. So that's not a lot of work. It's probably kind of like a couple of evenings work to actually get that sorted. But that's the first thing. I've got to get my Dwaradelf sections glued down, ready to play a game for one thing. Maybe we haven't played that game yet. And ready for the photo shoot. So that's job 1, but I'm not too worried about that. I'm quite looking forward to that. Scenery job 2, probably in level of complexity. Oh yeah, boy. This is, if it's not clear, Amon Hen. I got the new Forge World Amon Hen and the classic bag of Forge World bits. It arrived, I think, just before Christmas. It's very, very cool. I'm very, very excited. Who knows, if you're taking the Fellowship all the way from Rivendell to Amon Hen, maybe you need an Amon Hen. So again, it's not too bad. I've done Weathertop relatively recently. I think I'm not too worried about it, but it's probably at least a week's work, maybe 2 weeks. But I've got to get that cleaned up, assembled, painted, and all that sort of stuff. So that, but again, that's quite tidy, quite internal. Build that kit, do it in the house, paint it in front of the telly. Should be right. Got to do that. And then the next one, potentially trickiest one, is there's going to be some Balin's Tomb stuff. We need some photos in Balin's Tomb. Tricky thing with Balin's Tomb is loads of people have made cool Balin's Tomb that we could ask to kind of borrow one, but they all have walls around the edge. Yeah, they all have 4 sides. They normally have that kind of built up, kind of raised bit around the edge where Legolas fights. And what that means is if you ever want to take photos of them, you're always aiming down because you can never aim straight on to Balin's Tomb because there'd just be a wall there. So what I've decided to do is basically build a Balin's Tomb, wait for it, that is only going to be used for 2 photographs. So the photographs I mentioned before, the cave troll ones set in Balin's tomb, I'm going to build a Balin's tomb for that, but it's going to be custom built just to let photos be taken, and it will never be able to be used for anything else. And so what I'm basically going to do is, if you imagine Balin's tomb is just cut in half down the middle, and then there just won't be one side. I'm just going to build half of it. So I'm going to build a kind of U shape of walls, the tomb and 4 columns, so the camera can point straight into Balin's tomb for photographs. And as I was thinking about how big this would be, and I'm obviously under some time constraints, and at the moment, as much as we can go out, I'm not really going out much with Omicron wrecking the world at the moment, so I'm not really going out to charity shops and browsing. But in my cupboard, I found this bad boy. This is an old frame I had ready for a display base of the future. Oh yeah, we're making a display base. So I decided that what I would do is use this, turn this into a Balin's tomb. And then what I thought at the time was, and what I'd do, because it's only been half a Balin's tomb, I'd build it so that, wait for it, if I ever took the Fellowship of the Ring to a tournament in the future, I could use this as a display base. What then happened? Oh yes, I decided to take the Fellowships of the GT with goblins. Do you see? It all kind of comes together. So this is going to be my Balin's tomb display board. I've kind of mocked it up. It's going to be a bit small scale. The gap between the pillars won't be as big as you expect, but I don't think that will matter. I have no idea whether the goblin army will fit on it. There's nothing I can do now. There's no point worrying about it. I think ultimately, if it doesn't, I don't know. I don't think it really matters, because the goblins are painted really, really badly. You know, I painted them up on battle streams, dry brush and all that, so I don't think it's going to get a best army nomination anyway, so I don't think I'll need to worry about making them look pretty, but hopefully I think I'll be able to cram loads of goblins all over it and it should be fine. So this, hopefully within the next 5 weeks, is going to be a Balin's tomb board. Who knows if that will happen, but that's quite exciting. Yeah, so that I think that's all on that one. I've got my columns. I've got my Balin's tomb sprue with my tomb and stuff. I've got some columns that I'd already assembled for something else. They're all going to be stuck onto it, so that's going to be quite good fun. I'm going to make that. So that's 3 projects, and then the final project, the final scenery project, is we need a Gates of Moria. Again, imagine something attacks the Fellowship near the Gates of Moria. There's a fairly iconic background. Not too many people have the Gates of Moria. And so my good friend Steve Crow is sending me down a piece he's got, essentially a kind of doors and the trees, and which is great. And I need to make a cliff for it to kind of sit in to be the backdrop. So I've also got to make just a fairly simple cliff, essentially somehow. Out of some foam board or something. I don't have a lot of the sealer text that I'd normally use for that stuff, which is a bit of a worry, but that's something else I've got to do, and just make something as simple as humanly possible and as quick as humanly possible to get done, because that is just going to be literally be used as a out of focus backdrop, so I can't waste time on that. But yeah, and I think that's it. So there we are. Oh yeah, and sorry, the last thing for what I'm going to do then in the week after the photo shoot is that I'll have this, which will be a Balin's tomb. There's going to be a door on the end which looks out, and I'm going to try, because imagine I want to take my army to the GT. I'm going to try and build a swimming pool for the watcher. I'm going to try and build a tiny little square on the end, which basically slots onto the end of this, and is a pool for the watcher as if he's looking into Balin's tomb. So that's the plan. Like, I'm going to get home from the photo shoot and then have 5 evenings to basically build something for the watcher to sit on, because the watcher obviously won't fit physically or thematically inside Balin's tomb. And of course, fans of battle streams will be excited to know that what that really allows me to do is use a polystyrene ceiling tile for some water. So yeah, that's the plan. So there we go. Some quite 5 weeks. 4 monsters, which are quite elaborate painting projects, a Celeborn, which I'll knock out in a couple of evenings, and 4 relatively big scenery projects. Can it be done? Who knows? So that's what I'm going to be doing for the next few weeks. So I'm gonna cut this there. I'm going to go and get stuck into everything, and I'm going to come back in a day or 2 days or a week or something with some updates on some of these things. I hope you're as excited as me. I'm genuinely buzzing for all these projects. I'm quite excited about it, even if it's a little daunting, and hopefully it'll be a fun few weeks that will lead to a fun blog for you guys to watch. Who knows? We'll see you next time. Okay, so it's update time. It's a few days since last time I was recording. I've got a few bits under my belt so far. I've been working on some of the models. I've been working on Amon Hen, but this is the first thing I'm going to show you. Ta-da! Here is Dwarrowdelf laid out. So I showed you a few bits of this up on the sofa. I was just holding them up, but this is my Dwarrowdelf scenery kit that I got from Zahir Karez. So this is kind of what, I think I said it was £60. This is what you get laid out roughly for £60. And I've laid this out roughly in a close approximation to what you get in Quest of Ring Barrel. So this is the layout that I'm going to use, and I think I said, sorry it's been a while since I recorded, that I'm going to stick this down and not have it be modular. And you can hopefully see that underneath there's three kind of MDF baseboards. So what I'm going to do is glue these bits down entirely to hold it in place, and then I'll have a very, very stable gaming board to play that over. It's very important here at the moment that this staircase here isn't going to be glued down anywhere, but you get the idea that this is what we'll use to play, what we used to do in the photo shoot. This is also what you need to actually play the scenario, and then I'll have three relatively small pieces to store. I'm not going to glue these stairs down, so it'll stay a bit flat. But as well as that, I mentioned that I've got another set, and what my plan to do is use the other set I've already laid it out to turn this into this. So this is my second set, assembled and backed on, so that these three boards here are exactly identical. This is the Dwarrowdelf set, and I've laid out the second set that I got from Zahir on three more of these baseboards, so that they basically slot on to the end, that bump onto the end, and make a bigger gaming board. And the idea is basically that I've come up with an arrangement that might allow me to play something like battle companies. I did think about coming up with an arrangement that would allow me to just have 6 end to end, but I didn't think that would be particularly exciting or easy to set up, whereas something like this would actually sit on a dining table. And suddenly I've tried to come up with something that if you had a small handful of models, you've got multiple routes across. So from this side there's 1, 2, 3, and from that side 1, 2, 3, 4, and they kind of meet in the middle. And there might be some way of playing some version of recon or so where you try and sneak past each other. So that's what I've kind of done. I've tried to incorporate as much as I could of the various bits and bobs to come up with a different layout essentially that would allow me to make this into a much bigger board. And I'm really pleased with it. And I think it looks cool. But I'm not sure if I said this already, but my plan is for the photo shoot, I'm not going to glue these down. So I'm going to take a photo of this so I remember how the whole thing looks, but I'm only going to glue down the Dwarrowdelf set, and then I'm going to keep these pieces loose for now, so that we can use them as background elements in the photo shoot, so we can move it around and kind of stack things up in the background and that kind of stuff. So that's the plan really. This is what my Dwarrowdelf board will look like. I think it's pretty cool, might be fun to play over at some point in the future on the channel. But for the photo shoot, these three will be being glued down. These guys are just being put back in the box ready for the photo shoot. So that's a little update for tonight. I'm happy with the layout. I'm going to draw around where they go, and then I'm going to start drilling the holes and glue them down, and hopefully make some progress. Okay, so it's time for an update. It's currently Sunday the 30th of January, so I think it's about 2 weeks since I started the vlog. As of yet, I still don't have much to show for my progress, like completed, but I am making progress. So I've done a lot of work on the models, cleaning up the models, like the cave trolls and the watcher. They're not done yet, but green stuffing and cleaning up has been done, so hopefully there'll be a bit of an update bit on them. But the main progress I've been making is on this. So I think you saw this all laid out on the floor, and this is the Dwarrowdelf setups that we're actually going to use for the scenario, and there has been more progress. So as you can hopefully see, I don't know if this is reading well, you should see a bunch of squares, and the squares basically match up to the bottoms of the feet of the pieces. So I don't know how well this is reading, but hopefully on there you might be able to see that that is a 1. So this is piece 1, and there's even an arrow on it that should now be pointing up. I don't know if you can read that on there, but that means the arrows point towards the front of the base. and then over here we have squares. We have 1, 1, 1, like that. So this basically means that this piece adheres to here. And what I've done is on each of these pieces, hopefully you can see, the squares were marked out, they were drawn round in pen, and then what I've done is, you see these? I've got cocktail sticks coming up. These are plastic ones rather than wooden ones. So I just drilled through, oh, there's my little bit. I kept that bit or I put it away somewhere. There we go. Incredibly handy. I made this incredibly useful tool, which is a piece of foam board, kind of 2x2 piece of foam board, which I cut to be the same size as the feet of here. And what I did was I drilled through the hole. Hopefully you can see that. I'm not sure there's a hole in it, but I drilled through it. And then placed this piece of foam board kind of over the squares, a bit like that, marked out the centre of them, and then drilled a hole through it. Then once I've drilled the hole through it, I've put cocktail sticks through, glued them in place, and then cut off the cocktail sticks on the bottom, so there's nothing on the bottom. Also hopefully see I've put some little felt pads on here, which I always do with my display boards to just kind of lift it off any table so it doesn't get scratched. I've also put them over any points where the cocktail sticks come through. You can see that on this one in particular I'm just missing one here. I need to pick up some more, but that still does the job, so I can put it on the table now and it won't, it's not going to scratch because it's lifted off. So yeah, that's you can see the layout, and they've got these spikes kind of coming up out of the ground. Let's pop that back to where it goes, and then I did the same thing on the bottom of here. I used this little square, popped it on there, and then I drilled up a hole into here. So these are obviously going to be put on in place, but I just want it and kind of glued to the bottom like that, and then they'll be glued to the adjoining piece as the two, so they'll be glued there as well for a bit of stability. But I just thought it was worth having some supports essentially to keep them in place. Now I could, I think I'm going to glue it down, but I think I could just leave this and use these to keep them stable. So let's see if this is going to work. I should be able to drop that onto there like that, and then that kind of shouldn't move too far. And then I'm going to take two, so I've got the twos all down here, and the arrows point towards the front. So my hope is, I haven't done this yet, I'm doing it live. And if I've lined up the holes right, oh there we go, so it slots onto there. And then I'll be able to glue that in place there. Now you can see that even with those, it's still a bit wobbly, so I wouldn't be comfortable playing on that. So I can't kind of keep it modular. And also, if I wanted to keep it modular, I'd have to store these boards somewhere with spikes coming out of them, which is dangerous. So I'm gonna be gluing it down. I'm gonna be gluing those in place there, and just using those cocktail sticks to basically add a bit of additional stability to the structure, so they've got a bit more to glue onto. So hopefully that will then keep them in place, and it'll be nicely glued down. I'm really pleased with that actually. As I said, this is genuinely the first time I put this one on, so it's nice to see this working well. And that'll be held in place, and then that will give me a much firmer structure to actually play the games over, which will be cool. So I've done all that, and then what I'm going to do now, the next step is I'm going to paint the baseboards. I say the next step, it's almost the last step. I'm going to paint the baseboards, and the reason I haven't done that first is that I don't want to paint underneath where the pieces are going to go. I always think that you're going to get a better bond if you glue polystyrene to wood, as opposed to if you glue paint to paint. So that's the idea there. We'll leave that bare wood. I'm just going to paint around. I'm not going to worry too much about getting the lines exact. But I'm going to paint around all that with black, and just kind of go over to them, just make sure I leave some kind of wood in the centre. And that's the next step. I hope it's only going to take. I think I'm going to put down 2 coats. I'm going to be quite quick. I'm going to try and do the first coat of that tonight actually, and assuming that's that, as soon as that paint's done and looking good, then I just have to glue these in place, and Dwarf will be done. So my hope, we're on Sunday, let's say that I hope I can come back on Tuesday and the Dwarf component of the project will be finished. But I'm pretty pleased with how things are going, and I will see you there. Okay, so update time. Dana, here we go. Amon Hen is, it's not finished, is it? It's built though. The build on Amon Hen is finished, so that's how to celebrate. It is currently Monday 31st of January. To give you an idea of where we are in the little time scale, and this is the piece. Now I could be wrong, but I don't think I've seen too many of these on kind of reviews or you know, kind of unboxings or whatever of this kit online, so I thought it was worth taking taking a little point over it. I really like it. I can't remember how much it was, about 150 quid, something like that, I think. So it's expensive. It's not, you know, it's not for everyone, but I do think it looks cool. I won't get into the whole 3D printing thing. If you want to get 3D printed one, great. If you want to get this one, great. I bought Weathertop last year, was it the year before? Really enjoyed painting it. So this had some Forger vouchers, and this was an easy purchase for me. I really like what they've done with it, and Amon Hen is my kind of favourite scene in the whole trilogy, I think, to be honest. So it was lovely to get a really nice kit of it. I just thought I'd talk about, I wanted to show you it before it kind of went under got painted essentially, and to talk about a few things in it. I can't pick it up at the moment because it's not fully assembled. If I take this off and this off, I've decided to leave these bits off for now. They are going to be glued on. It's not like Weathertop where I've decided to keep a couple of pieces off for gameplay. But I just thought, imagine this is on here. When you're even spraying, like I'm going to spray undercoat it to get up here, but then also dry brushing, trying to get your brush in here to dry brush up the stone texture. I just thought it was going to be really hard with that bit in place. So I've left this bit off so that you've got much better access in here for painting, and much better access in here for painting as well. So that's the plan. The reason this bit, this cool bit here, hasn't been glued down is simply because when I'm painting it, that's coming up. When I'm painting it and sort of spraying it, I've been doing this sort of thing a lot to kind of keep it safe and that kind of thing. And I feel you might need to do that, and I didn't want to risk kind of damaging it. So the three pieces will be sprayed separately. Then as soon as that's done, I'll be gluing this onto here before I start painting it. And then that will kind of be dry brush, probably not the whole thing, but the first few levels, just to get some kind of basic colours under here, so it looks like it's painted. Then I'll glue it back in. My biggest kind of worry on that is there is a slight gap. Can you see? Hopefully it's along here and along here. You can obviously see where it joins together. Will that need some green stuff in? Ooh, no, benefit from, probably. No, I don't really know. But then, so I'll have to be putting green stuff on when it's already been painted, and then having to try and match the colour. But I don't know. That's a minor thing. It's only going to be there, and then potentially at the bottom here will be where that comes on. But that's how I'm going to go about painting it. And my hope is that this is going to be sprayed tomorrow. I can show you a few bits of it if you want. This is cool. The actual seat, it's one of those things that I realised I'd never really looked at before to see how it's made up. It doesn't have a seat. Anyone ever think that's weird, seeing seat doesn't have a seat? It's never really occurred to me before, but I think I always assumed that there was a seat built into this thing somehow, but never mind. There's a little bit of green stuffing to do just around the feet, as you see when you stick the kind of birds in. I found that if you want them to be flush in here, you get little gaps in the feet, but very, very easily solved with some green stuff. I can move this bit out and kind of show you. Nothing, just quite fancy, quite nice detailing, and the kind of detail on the column works really nice. Down here, it's kind of much the same. I suppose the interesting bit here really is the statues, which are cool. They look really nice. Got a really nice detailing on them, like that. In all, it took me. I gave it a bath. It's quite nice. So if you've done Weathertop, the good thing about this is it's smaller, so it fits in a bowl and it fits in the sink, unlike Weathertop, which you kind of have to do in the bath. This is a bit of a nightmare. But yeah, so I gave it all a scrub with the soapy water as normal, and then I think it took about 2 hours to clean up and assemble. I cleaned it up while I was watching Encanto, which is amazing. But yeah, there's some big gates that you have to saw off with a modelling saw. So if you're going to do this, you'll need a saw, not just clippers. There's mould lines, but I think I was probably a bit overzealous with them, to be honest. Both in terms of the mould lines and the green stuff, which I'll get to in a minute, I probably did more than you need to. You could probably assemble this without cleaning any mould lines, but for me, when you're spending that much money on a kit, you're only ever going to assemble it once. So I just think, as tedious as it is, it's probably worth spending a bit more time. So that was all within that same 2 hours. So about 2 hours to cut all the components off, clean up all the mould lines, and then assemble it. And then the last thing I've done is a bit of green stuff in. So there's nothing here, I've shown you on here. And you can hopefully see that just around here, you probably see a green line around there on the 2 columns. See the green stuff in there, and the same around here. So the top half of these statues kind of glues down. And then I've also done it right in there. Can you see? I don't know if it will read properly, but kind of underneath here there's a line of green, precious green, like that. And then down here where the statues meet the base, just in here, I've done the same sort of thing. Again, I think you could probably get away with doing none of it. I think you could put down the gaps to being gaps in the stonework, and when once you've assembled the whole thing and painted it, I don't think you'll be able to see them. They'll just look like dark recessed gaps. But again, for me, I kind of went, I'm not very good with green stuff. More on that soon, hopefully. But I think the green stuff probably took me an hour, maybe an hour and a half, to kind of get all these little thin sausages and just wedge them all in. It's not exactly hard work, but it takes a block of time. As I say, you could probably get away with it, but I just thought for the sake of an extra hour and a half to assemble once on this expensive piece of resin, it was probably worth doing. So there we go. That's it. That's assembly. I don't regret it in the slightest. I think it's a great kit. Even doing this now, you could leave that there. The way it kind of balances, it's actually pretty sturdy. But I don't really see any benefit to this for playability to be able to move this out. So I will be gluing it in just to keep it sturdy and keep it safe. But there we go. That's the Forge World Amon Hen kit, which I think is pretty awesome. It's great to get. I think it was previewed at Ardicon, so it was great to finally get my hands on this and get it ready. And as of tomorrow, I'll be getting it painted. And my hope, as I said, it's currently the Monday evening. My hope is that this might come together pretty quick now, because it's just dry brushing. I should have brought the book in. I'm gonna follow the guide in Quest of the Ring Bearer. I think it was Rob Alderman's guide for painting Weathertop, which is what I followed for my Weathertop, and it worked really well. So I'm just gonna follow that one because it doesn't need an airbrush. It's a relatively small kit, and I think it will paint up really quickly. And my hope is that maybe, probably not by the end of the week, but maybe the end of this weekend, this will be completely finished, and that will be a big tick of the project, which will be awesome. I have also got, it's always tricky when you're doing it backwards, there we go, these bits. I've got some ruins of Middle Earth. There we go. God, this is so much trickier than you think it would be. Right. Oh, we have to come back up here, do we? Oh, I see. There you go. These are just that old plastic kit, and I had one of these kits lying around, just doing absolutely nothing. And it's Amon Hen, isn't it, with the fallen statues and fallen masonry and all that. And this is a fun piece, isn't it? I haven't looked at this in about 20 years, but this little log fire with some spears and stuff. Is it meant to be I don't think it's meant to be the Fellowship, because there's Fellowship's fire, because there's 2 kind of Boromir shields, and there's a spear which doesn't kind of look like anyone, but yeah, it's cool. It was lying around. I was just like, hang on, this is exactly the same stuff, and for the pictures that we're taking, it would just be cool to have a few nicer bits of scatter terrain. I have got at least one set of this painted up in a box somewhere from 10 years ago, but it's very, very basic, kind of white, black, grey, white for stone, so it probably won't look too good, whereas hopefully this will be painted up in the same paint scheme I paint this, and so we'll have a few more bits of scatter terrain to break up the landscape, which will be nice. So yeah, that's just going to be a bit of bonus stuff. Again, taking on new stuff, new projects. Might seem a bit mad, but surely this stuff can't take particularly long. I'm just going to kind of treat this as part of Amon Hen. Look, it's just one big scenery kit. See? So yeah, that's the Amon Hen update, which I'm very excited about, and hopefully the next update, which might be tomorrow night, will be finally showing you some progress on some damn models. Okay, so I am back with an update, and this time it's about the models, and we haven't seen any update on the models in a few weeks, and it's progress. So we are currently on Wednesday the 2nd of February, so I think we must be getting on for 2 weeks into the vlog now. I honestly can't remember when I started, but I've got some progress to show you, and the progress is they're all assembled and cleaned up. So let's build up in levels of excitement. First up, ta-da, it's Celeborn. Russ said I was going to try and do Celeborn. Well, here he is, the original Celeborn model from way back when, 2001. He's going to be painted up.
I can't remember what I said 2 weeks ago, honestly, but he's needed for one photograph, and the very idea of painting him up is really stressing me out, to be honest, like kind of spending the time doing that for the sake of one photograph, but I kind of need to try and get him done. So I'm going to try and paint him on this week's live stream. I'm not sure if you'll see this before. You won't see this before the live stream, but by the time you watch this, I may have been painting him on one of our live streams, but yeah, I got him, dug him out, lovely model, cleaned him up, and got him based and ready to go. So that's cool. Next thing I want to look at is the cave trolls, and the good news is the cave trolls are assembled and cleaned up, so I can pop them on here with this dude and this dude. So let's have a look at them. Here's the hammer one that I've had in my back. I'm just going to move this guy in case it tries to pull the focus. I've had this guy in my backlog for absolutely years. It's a very, very cool model, lovely detail. You can see the green stuffing I needed to do on it. I'm quite pleased with the green stuffing. I'm going to talk about green stuffing a bit in this little clip, but I don't like green stuffing. But you kind of have to do it with some of these metal models and the joins. And what I've kind of learned over the years is this is actually a very bad example of this, but there's a tiny thin crack here. And in the past, I would always try and do this, just put a sliver of green stuff in and kind of fill the gap. And what I've started moving more towards, which might be obvious to a lot of people, but is I've actually started trying to cover the gap. So not try and fill it in, but kind of put a big thicker slab across the gap, and then kind of try and smooth that in a bit more. I think it works a little better on the other troll. Hopefully we'll show you. But my hope is that kind of conceals that gap a little more. But very, very cool model, this guy. I think he's leaning back. Look at the feet. I think they're where they're meant to be. I don't think he's been bent, but he just it's hard to kind of get across here. The pose looks like he's leaning back a bit more than I thought he should be, but it might just be that that's what he's meant to look like, and all the photos don't make him look like he's leaning back. I don't really know, but I think he's okay. I think he'll do. But yeah, he's good and ready to go. Really excited about him. And then I've got the other one, which I got on the recent made to order, which is this guy. This is, again, very, very similar. I think they've got maybe the same legs. The body is twisted on this one, though. And again, if I go and show you the green stuff, and you can hopefully see here the comparison, even between those two arms there, where I almost feel like I've missed this bit, have I? I don't know quite what's happened there. I almost feel like I haven't finished that arm, but too late. He's about to get sprayed. Something. I genuinely feel like maybe a bit of green stuff's fallen out of that or something. Oh dear. Anyway, instead of going for this kind of gap filling approach, I've gone for this kind of approach of just kind of putting a big bit of green stuff all over that kind of gap. And that's kind of been my little learning curve on this project, to be honest. And I think maybe it's taken me 20 years to figure that out, but it's worked quite well. And on this guy, I'm pretty happy. You never really know until you paint it up how well that blend works. But I think on these metal models you do need it. You need it on those arms, and there's a little bit here around the waist. You could probably get away without doing it, but I thought it was worth doing. And he's got this cool spear. So another very, very cool model, and I'll be batch painting those up together. So I'm happy with those. You remember a few weeks ago I sat with great excitement and talked about doing a bonus cave troll, and I did assemble him. So here is the plastic cave troll. But looky here. Oh. None of that's green stuffed. I've given up on this guy. I've got some time, but I'm already very, very worried about the amount of time I've got left to complete this project. And sadly, this guy is an extravagance too far. As much as it makes sense to paint the cave trolls up together, green stuffing him properly will take, I don't know, at least an hour or something, I think. And then painting him, I don't know how long he's going to take, a few hours, but he's at least probably 2 evenings work to do another monster, and I just don't have that time. So unfortunately for this plastic troll, particularly given that I've got absolutely no plans or no intentions of either taking him to the GT or using him in any of the photos for the magazine, it's just madness to try and spend some time doing this. So he is absolutely falling by the wayside, sadly. Which, who knows now if he'll ever be painted. Part of me wants to think, I'll get back from the GT and paint him, but I almost certainly won't. I was just painting him as part of a fun project to do with the other one, so he's probably going to get chucked in a box. and never touched again. But we'll see. So he had a good run. He's been assembled, and maybe he'll see the brush, maybe on a battle stream or something at some point. So sorry, dude. And then that leaves the big beastie, which is the Watcher Underwater. So just a little preamble on this. That as I said, I think it's Wednesday. I feel like I started recording the vlog on a Thursday or Friday, and that Saturday, which is now a week and a half ago, I got this guy out, and I kind of dug him out, and started work on him, started washing him, and all that sort of stuff. And he was finished. His green stuff was finished last night. So since then, I've basically had 10 days of cleaning up and green stuffing and assembling models. I've obviously been working on some of the scenery as well. I've been working on the Dwarrowdelf and working on the Amon Hen, but the only thing I've done at my painting desk has been on these trolls and Celeborn and the Watcher, and it's a part of the hobby I really hate, and just cleaning up and scrubbing and filing and cutting and all that sort of stuff. And I've been doing it for 10 days, and I'm very, very excited to have got to the point here where the models are ready for priming. But obviously the Watcher has been a major part of this. So here he is in all his completed glory. And it's, I think I said before, I think I probably said in the piano, that I love this model. I've always loved this model, but I love it even more now. It's super cool. And the scale of it and the kind of physical impact of it is far, far better, I think, than it necessarily looks on the box art. So he was... I did enjoy assembling, and I'm not going to lie, actually, it was a nice process, but it wasn't quick. I've spent a lot of time on this guy, and I just took my time and I did it in stages. So the first thing I did was the 3 pieces of the body, which are basically this top part here, this bottom part here, and the head in there, and I got them together, cleaned them up, and then I did this set of green stuff. So you can see the kind of green stuff in over this joint here, and then a big line of green stuff all the way around here. And all the way up there. So that was the kind of first step that I did, and so that was an evening of cleaning the bits up and making them fit, an evening of green stuffing and so on and so forth. And the next thing I did was then put the legs on. So we got the 6 legs, and the legs, I'm not going to lie, were a challenge. If you have a look at them, and spoilers, they're fine cast, so I have bent them a bit. But if you have a look at these here, they're naturally, because it's this big kind of insect type bug thing, they're very, very similar, and there's very, very little to tell them apart. Now, before people start screwing at me, we're going to have a look at the instructions. Pop these down here. I don't know how well this will read. They are numbered. You can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. They are numbered, and on the underside of the legs there were numbers, but I don't know if it was the resin or the fine cast or the age. I just couldn't make out the numbers. I could just see scratches, frankly, and they weren't all that helpful. And I thought as a starting point I had a bit of help. I don't know if you can see here, number 3 has got a peg in the foot, and number 5 has got a peg in the foot. So I found the 2 feet that have got the pegs here, but they weren't numbers 3 and 5. Like I found another leg that of the few that I could recognise, I was certain a different one was number 3. So I got very, very confused about that. And I ultimately decided, you can see that the pegs are meant to go, so this one's meant to go at the back, I think. So number 3 there, you kind of follow the line to the back of his leg, so this should be number 3. And then that goes at the back. That was the other thing that confused the hell out of me. Yeah, I remember, I was just trying to think, why would this confuse it, right? So this has got the peg in it, okay? And it tells you here, if you look, oh, sorry, not in shot. If you look here, I think I'm reading this right, that number 3 goes at the back. Yeah, it's the back of the furthest back of these 3 lines. So it's the back leg. And then you follow it along here, and it goes down here into the shield. But on the base, the shield isn't where the hole is. This is the shield on the base, and the hole's up here. You see, I've moved it now, but the hole is there. So the pegs on these 2 don't line up with where the holes are on the base. So that was a bit confusing. So what I ended up basically doing is just dry fitting it and trying to make it look cool. So I didn't worry about any of these. How you're meant to tell the difference between, say, that leg and that leg and that leg. I don't really know. They're slightly further apart, and let's be honest, it's fine cast, so some of them have bent inwards or outwards. So, you know, I don't know how you're going to tell those really if you can't read the numbers. It's possible that they've improved that now in the new resin kit, but as I think I said at the start, I've had this for 10 years. I found the eBay invoice. It was 2012, so this is early fine cast, and no, I don't know, I just couldn't read it. So instead what I did was I put the legs on and just played around with it until I basically found legs that kind of came out in the right angles that I wanted and looked cool. And I was just going for that shape, like, you know, as you look at it from various angles, I just wanted the legs to kind of, you know, look natural when you were coming down here, and try and look good from the different sides, and so on and so forth. And I'm pretty pleased with how it came out. But it is still, I'm not going to lie, it's a faff to get it to fit. It is a joy, an absolute joy that this is fine cast, because you can these legs are fantastic. They're strong, but you can just heat them up and bend them really nicely, really easily, and then bend them back. That was an absolute joy. If this kit was, and you know, they were glued under here really easily, and you know, there weren't any, I didn't need to pin them. If this was a metal kit, it would be a pain in the arse. But it was still, if you imagine that you're trying to glue on kind of 6 legs and pose it on a multi-dimensional base, it's not easy. But in the end, I'm pleased with. Oh god, I'm pleased with what I've come up with. It's almost certainly not going to work now, but it does fit. I've dry fitted it a lot. That one goes into that hole. This one comes over here, and that goes in there. So it's something like that on the base. So we get that kind of side from there, and we get that kind of side from there. And obviously it's not going to sit right until I glue it in, but then he's going to be that far off the rock, something like that, which I'm pretty pleased with. And I made sure to position it so that I'll be able to glue these 3 bits down just to give it extra support. So it's not, the weight of the model isn't going to be on the 6 legs. There'll also be some being taken by that. So yeah, that was the next step, essentially getting the legs, and that was a big job in itself. You know, it was a full evening's work trying to get the legs right and bent right and everything like that. But again, genuinely the joys of fine cast were great. And then the evening after that, I put the tentacles on. And again, there's actually a note in here that specifically says attach tentacles in any way you like. So you can see the tentacles are different shapes, but there's not specific places for them. And my only tip here that you want to be careful about is to try and make sure that however you're assembling it, you can see his face. So there's these 2 tentacles here, which kind of they come out and flat, as opposed to most of the other ones which go up. Yeah, and so my advice would be to put those at the front, so that they kind of come out, and it allows you to, if you imagine you're shooting a photograph of him there, you can kind of see straight through at his face. And then I basically tried to frame his face with these ones that came up, whereas on the other hand, if you put these tall ones on these front 2 pieces, they're just going to block his face. So that was I was thinking as well about getting a paintbrush in. So a bit of a tip there. And then I just tried to just create a cool shape with the other ones to kind of frame his face really. And I'm really pleased with it. Again, them being fine cast was great. There are little pegs on them and little holes in this bit, so you can slot them in. But they just glued on really, really easily with super glue and stayed in place, which is really, really nice. So that was that. I'm quite happy with that. I'm really, really pleased overall that for an old fine cast kit, this would have been one of the first watches produced. He was released in early 2012, and I bought him off eBay in 2012. So I might have just said 2012 there. So obviously I mean 2012, but this would have been one of the first batches certainly. I haven't found anything wrong with the kit. I haven't found anything I needed to fix. The gaps here are no different than the gaps I've had to fill on like metal trolls or anything like that. I then, by the nature of what I'd done to the legs, bending them out, I did another session of green stuff in to kind of cover those gaps. So if you can imagine that these legs are different pieces, so there are gaps here. And again, just taking what I said about the cave trolls, I kind of put more green stuff over these bits here to kind of cover those gaps and try and, you can get away with it with a big monster like this. You can kind of make the green stuff look like a whole area of skin or of armour or something like that. So I think that'll be alright. And then the last bit of green stuff I had to do was down here on the tentacle. And again, this is a decision to make. Underneath here, you can see where the tentacles join on. That was fairly easy, just doing a bit of gap filling with it. But up here, you could not do anything. You could just leave them, and you'll have 8 lines across here. You know, I'm sure some people would do that, but again, for me, I'm going to be taking photographs of it, and it's an expensive kit, and it's, you know, it's a bit of a showpiece kit. So I decided to put a bit of time into it, and so I did green stuff it, and I went down the route of not wanting to see both sides of the green stuff. So you're obviously going to have to see it here and try excuse me, try and blend this into the tentacle. But here, rather than having the green stuff end, I built it all up into the mouth. So, you know, it's not sculpting, but it's closer to sculpting than gap filling. You know, I kind of just went over that whole area and built the green stuff into the corners of his mouth there. And I'm hoping that by the time I've painted that up, that's going to kind of cover up those joints a bit more. Try and give you a sort of money shot of his face. You can see there, it's really good detail. Both eyeballs are in there, which is where fine cast sometimes falls down. But yeah, so that's the watch art. I love it. I feel like it's finished and I haven't even started painting it. But it's been a fun project. It's just taken a long time. And so now, of course, I have to move on to painting it. I've got my base here. I'm on a time limit. I was infuriated to assemble this and find that there's 4 dead dwarfs on it. So I have not got time for 4 dead dwarfs. But I'm gonna have to do those. You can see the green stuff here where I filled in the old holes, and I've drilled new holes for the new place for the pegs. I'm going with sand here, and this is going to be water. So I've put a bit of sand on, so there'll be some sand under the water, and then this is going to be the deeper water. But yeah, this is the base, and obviously you get into the issues of how do you paint this. You know, if you glue it down, you obviously can't get underneath it. You can't broken forever. See, it's fine. Fine cast isn't brittle. Absolutely fine. And so what I've ended up doing is I've crafted a bespoke painting handle. I've got a flying base and I've got a piece of kind of brass rod, and I've drilled a hole just here under the beastie, and this slots on him and holds the watcher in the water. I don't want to tip him because he's not glued in, but I'll be able to hold him like that to allow me to hold this and paint it, and paint the base separately. And my current plan, I think, is to basically paint the underneath of him, finish the base, do all the messy work on here, and then glue him on with the base finished, and then do maybe the detailed work on like the claws and the face and that sort of stuff. I think that's my thinking. But yeah, that's the kind of plan. So hopefully this will help me to hold him and paint him and stuff. But there he is. There is the kind of the main project. I keep thinking of him as the main deal in this whole little adventure. It's the Watcher. He's ready. The cave trolls are ready, and Killerborn, God love him, is ready. So those are the models that I need to get ready for the photo shoot, which, as I'm currently recording, I'll be going to in 15 days' time. But yeah, that's the progress we've made on the models. Sorry there's no paint on them, but it has been a substantial amount of work to at least get them to this right. So I feel pretty good about that. But there we go. That's what I've been doing on the models during the period of this vlog, and hopefully we'll be back with an update soon. There we go. The Dwaradelf is finished. I can't honestly remember the last time you saw it. I showed you this. I think maybe I showed you the spikes kind of coming into the Dwaradelf and ready to assemble and ready to paint. But it is now fully done. I'm quite pleased with it. I think it works and it looks cool. So I've shown you the design before, laid out on the floor. I can't, as I said, I've recorded this over a period of time, so I can't remember exactly what I've said. But everything is glued down except for the staircases here and here. They come off. The reason being for that purely to give me a bit of optionality. I think I said that there is no reason, if you want to play the scenario, you'd ever want it in a different layout to that, because the scenario is a very specific thing. It also allows me to swap out some different kinds of stairs that came with the kit.
like to do this sort of thing should I want to. But also crucially here, this would suddenly make it a lot harder to store because it makes it significantly higher. So by just keeping that to the same height, sorry, to a minimum height of including the biggest arch, it potentially makes it easy storage. These staircases are glued down because again it's no higher than this. So wherever I find to store this, I'll also be able to store that. But it just gives me a bit of optionality. According to the scenario, you'd actually have the staircase there. That's actually where the exit is in the scenario. So you just get a bit of play there. So again, I know I've said this before, but this was by Zahir Z Karez, who you can contact on the GBHL or via the trade group. I'm really happy with it. I think it looks great, and I'm pleased with the idea. I think once you never quite know if you're trying to make something modular if it will work kind of when you try and solidify it, but hopefully as you're looking at this it looks like it's one thing, but all these parts come out, so these will slide out, but now these are pretty solid. Yeah, so if your models are going to go along these aren't going to go anywhere, so they're glued in the spikes. I've put little kind of what are they called, felt feet or something over where the cocktail sticks went in, just to make sure that they don't scratch tables and you don't catch your fingers on them. But there's now kind of cocktail stick going up inside these, they're glued in, and then wherever the two walls join they're also glued together here. So it feels pretty strong. I've played a game over it now with Tom. We did that I think Wednesday night. We played the game just after it was finished, the day after the paint was dry on the boards, which was really good fun, and you know, nothing happened, no models fell off it, so it's really cool. So yeah, I'm really happy with this. It's the easiest part of the project for this road to the Grand Tournament, road to the photo shoot, certainly. But it still doesn't mean it wasn't a bit of work and needed to all go right. But I am very pleased, and would highly recommend if you want to pick up some Dryad Elf scenery, going checking out Zahir's work. So I think that's that for the Dryad Elf. I think we can call that there, and hopefully we'll come back with a bit of progress on the rest of the stuff soon. And here we are. Amon Hen is finished. So here's the full kit. Sorry I haven't done much in the way of kind of updates for it, but everything's been a bit manic trying to get things done. But it is now finished, which is quite exciting. And I have to say, I'm pretty pleased with how it turned out. So I think the last time you saw this kit, it was just fully assembled, cleaned up in parts, but it has now been painted and textured, as you can see. Just spin it around for you so you can have a kind of look. Hopefully that's coming up all right. I'm really happy with it, really pleased with how it came out. So for the colour scheme, I went with just as I think I might have told you, I went with the Quest of the Ring Bearer paint guide, which I think is by Rob Alderman, for Weathertop. That worked really well on Weathertop, and so I just I went with something that I knew and replicated it here. So that is prime it black, base coat it Dryad bark, dry brush it Mornfang brown, dry brush it Zandri dust, dry brush it Rakarth flesh, dry brush it Pallid Witch flesh, and then chuck a load of very light washes on it. And I've done that, and it just comes out really well. It's one of those things that I've learnt a lot since I've been doing this the last year and a half, of a lot of scenery stuff about kind of colours and painting for scenery, and it always strikes me as incredibly weird when you start off brown and it ends up being this kind of what looks like a pale grey but a very warm grey, and it just works really well. So that's super cool. It's probably worth saying, just for me, just my little scenery tip is that normally I use these. So this is what I use to paint scenery. They're tester pots from, I'll just go to Homebase. So you can just go up and get any colour you want done, and they're about £3 each. And this is obviously, they do colour matches. This is Mornfang brown. So this is what I use for scenery, but when I did this and when I did Weathertop, I primed it black with GW black primer, and I still base coated it with real Dryad bark. And my reasoning for this, it might be super cautious, but I just think that first coat of paint where you're going to get the base coat on it, which all the other paint's going to go on top of, I think it's worth doing it with the proper paint, personally. I've never tried it the other way, but you spend £250 or whatever it is on Amon Hen, not on Amon Hen, sorry, on Weathertop, and it just seems a bit mad to me to kind of like whack thick emulsion all over it. So for me, the base coat is always GW, and it might seem prohibitively expensive, but I was very pleasantly surprised that I got one pot of Dryad bark. I kind of bought a few spares for this, and this to base coat Amon Hen, it took less than a pot. So I think when you're actually base coating, these go further than you think.
So if you do want to base coat it, it will only take 1 pot of paint, which is quite cool. So primed with GW spray, painted with real dryad bark, and then once I start dry brushing, that's where these come in. So it was dry brushed with one of these, my match from Warhammer Brown, dry brushed with Sandwich Dust, dry brushed with Pallid Witch, Rakarth, and then dry brushed with Pallid Witch Flesh, and then you go back to the GW washes to kind of daub the washes all over it. I kind of lift it up to kind of hopefully show you different bits so you get an idea of how it looks, hopefully. And then obviously, as you can see, it's been textured. I've just chucked static grass over lots of it in patches. I then got Green Stuff World natural leaf litter, which is a new product for me. I've never used that before, and kind of put that on there. And I covered it in tufts by the wonderful Andrew Pennington. So again, you can contact Andrew through the trade group. He does really fantastic tufts at really reasonable excuse me, really reasonable prices. There's a bit at the back here that I painted underneath all this clump foliage. I painted it just as the standard base, like my ground cover, and then when I went and looked at the GW picture, they've painted it as the same colour as this, as if it's the kind of, I don't know if it's meant to be crumbled stone or if it's meant to be stone that's carved out of, but I suddenly then couldn't unsee it, so I just decided to cover all that in clump foliage to make it kind of big built up bush and chuck some more leaves and tufts on it. So I'm really pleased. I think it's really cool. I'm happy with how it came out. I think I was going through the dilemma with you last time you saw it, of the fact that this piece was separate and how was I going to glue it back and would I need to join it. And in the end, I was lazy because of time. And you can see that all I've done is glue some hopefully relatively natural looking leaves and stuck a couple of tufts on here to cover the joins essentially. It's not perfect side on. You can see the little crack is just there where it comes down. And over here, it's just down there. You can see a little join there, and it's not quite straight. But you know, I don't think most people would notice when they look at it. I'm pretty happy with it. I think I probably made the right call to keep it separate in terms of like painting what's inside here. So there we go. I love the statues. I think the statues are super cool. The leaf litter I think is a really good idea. You can pick that up. I think I got mine through Amazon. I think they look really great. And then this kind of seat bit here, but yeah, it was good fun. Very easy to paint. Once it all gets assembled, you just dry brush and it's pretty quick. I don't really know in total, but you know, a few hours to get the whole thing painted. It's you know, sloshing that on as a base coat, and then a whole bunch of dry brushes, and then some washes. Probably the longest single stage was probably sticking the tufts on, which I always find quite a therapeutic process to just get the tweezers out and stick them on. So there we go. Amon Hen is finished as well. So you know, things are going well. We finished the Dwarf off. Now we finished Amon Hen, and hopefully we'll be making some progress on the other bits soon. So there we go. And I think we're going to call it there for now. I said right at the start of this video that I didn't know if it's going to be 1 or 2, and it's really hard to tell as you're doing this stuff, but this feels now like it's about the hour mark, so I think it's time to call it there, and we'll call this part 1 of the vlog. We've reached quite a natural break in proceedings as well, so it's worth reviewing, but I think it makes sense now because I've finished the Dwarf scenery completely. That's done. I've painted Amon Hen and textured that and everything from scratch. That's done, which is great. And the models are assembled. Celeborn and the Watching Water and the 2 cave trolls are all cleaned up and assembled. So they're a kind of, you know, there's everything's a kind of a natural state of, I don't know, pausing, I suppose you'd say. I'm pretty happy. To give you an idea, it's Sunday the 6th. Is it the 6th? It's the 6th. Yeah, Sunday the 6th of February. So roughly speaking, I started recording this in mid-January, and I had 5 weeks until the photo shoot. I now have 2 weeks, so we've basically used up 3 weeks. I'm really happy with what I've done. I've been working hard, and I don't think I've been slacking or anything, and I feel like I've been making the most of my time. And I couldn't have done much more, but I'm still a bit worried. You know, if you'd have offered me any other time of the year 3 weeks to kind of do what I've done, I'd be like, yeah, that was great. Particularly like Amon Hen, getting that all assembled and painted up, and cleaning up these big monsters and everything, and then doing the Dwarf scenery on the side. I'd say 3 weeks is great. But whilst what I've done in 3 weeks is great, what I've got left to do in 2 weeks isn't particularly great. So, you know, I'm going to dwell more on that in the future, but it's basically in the next vlog, but it's painting the Cave Trolls and the Watcher and building Barnard's Tomb and the Cliffs of Moria. That's a lot to do in 2 weeks. So there we go. This blog has been successful. I hope you've enjoyed this one, covering the first half of the process, and the road goes ever on. So you'll be watching this. I don't know, probably in a few days' time. I guess something. I don't know. It depends when I get edited. Probably by maybe like the 10th. I'll try and get it up before battle streams possibly. Maybe the like 10th of February. And the photo shoot, as you watch this, will be in 9 days. But you'll probably see the second, and I'll be when you watch this video, I'll be frantically working on everything for the next video, and you'll probably see that in about a week's time from now, or something like that. So I hope you get to watch this vlog before sometime around the 10th, and I hope you get to watch the next vlog before the GT. My hope is that the next one will drop after the photo shoot and before the GT, and we'll have a look at how progress was made then. But yeah, I hope you've enjoyed this. I hope it's given you some inspiration and some chatter and nonsense to hobby away to. And I'm gonna pause there and get cracking on the next busy 2 weeks. Wish me luck, and I'll see you in the next vlog on Battle Streams Middle Earth. Cheers.